The France 24 debate, June 21st, may be the longest day of the year. It sure feels like it if you're inside the new Greek government, which is getting a grilling this Tuesday ahead of a vote of confidence it's expected to pass despite grumblings from the majority backbenches. That's, in fact, the easy part. The new cabinet under deadline from lenders to push through a radical austerity plan by the beginning of July, or else face default. And under pressure from the Greek street as well to lay off belt-tightening that citizens view as just plain unrealistic. It'll take more than just another loan, and outside Greece, where both taxpayers and banks are sweating over the domino effect of it all, three simple questions. Can the Greeks change their ways? If so, enough to stay in the Eurozone? And whose responsibility will it be to pick up the tab in the end? Today, in the France 24 debate, can Greece be fixed? And we hope to be joined from Athens shortly by Elena Panariti, Member of Parliament for the ruling Socialists. With us in the studio is Raquel Garrido, who is the international spokesperson for the Parti de Gauche, the far-left party of the left, which has just chosen a candidate for the French presidential election for next year.
Yes, and the Communist Party, and the Gauche Unitaire, and the FAS, and we're a big group of parties in the left that have decided that we will run for president with Jean-Luc Mélenchon.
Okay, and we'll be following, of course, that all the way up to the run-up to next May's election. But with us as well, George Prevalakis, who teaches European politics, and I guess you could say geopolitics yes. At Paris's Sorbonne University. What was on your curriculum this year?
This year, the cultural foundations of geopolitics was a theoretical course, and then I had other courses on cultural geography, also a course on the geography of Turkey in Alco, a variety of courses.
Okay, and we hope to be joined shortly from Brussels by Yorgo Hatzimarkakis, who is an MEP, Greek origin, but born and bred in Germany. We'll be speaking with him as well. Your comments, always welcome, on the France 24 debate Facebook page and on Twitter, where our handle is at François F24. Now, the vote taking place in the Greek parliament this Tuesday has been raising the wider question over whether this is a tragedy of the Greeks' own doing. Lenders feel there hasn't been enough contrition on the parts of the Greeks. Well, contrition is one thing. There hasn't been enough measures since the first restructuring plan happened a year ago. And to give one example, we're going to take a look at it now. Still today, tax evasion remains something of a national sport.
Officially, Greece's shadow economy is at 28% of GDP. Economists say it goes even higher, to up to 40%. Greece's undeclared economy is twice as high as in Germany. Some Greeks have second unreported jobs, others have to go along with it.
One example is a worker that comes to fix my window. He asks me to pay €1,000, and when I ask for a receipt, he says I need to pay €200 extra.
All fields are hit by this parallel economy. That's why the opposition says that before raising taxes again, authorities should track down tax evaders. They've started doing just that. Inspectors even follow doctors and lawyers to make sure they declare their clients. They use satellites to track down gas tanks, to stop illegal fuel sales. They even detect undeclared swimming pools.
You're supposed to pay taxes on pools. Few people do. So we work with Google to find them. Some owners cover the pools with green mattresses to hide them.
All right. Interesting to see about the swimming pools there. George Prevalakis, when you look at, we're already at the root of what part of the problem is that are we asking the Greeks to change their ways in the space of 2 weeks now?
Of course, the Greeks have to change their ways because during the last 30 years they have been used to live in a very bizarre way. Not when I visited Greece, every time I visit Greece, I had the feeling that I was getting into another universe, that I was changing completely.
Why is that?
World. Well, because the things that, the way we do things and we think about work and effort in France was completely different in Greece. And this, of course, is because a very artificial framework, environment has been created since 1981, because a lot of easy money got into Greece, the structural funds, and then, of course, the ease of borrowing. So there was a lot of money, and nobody from Europe thought of controlling how this money was being used. So there was no feedback. You didn't make the right effort, you were not productive, you didn't have any consequences. Those that had consequences were the serious people who were trying to say we are not doing things correctly. They were considered as irrelevant. And the serious politicians that tried to promote reforms simply didn't get elected because the feedback was negative. There was no feedback. And this has lasted for 30 years. So for 30 years, the Greeks have been receiving all the wrong messages. And now they have to change from one date to the other. It's not easy.
We're pleased to be joined by Elena Panaritis, who joins us from Athens. Thanks for being with us here in the France 24 debate. I know that vote in Parliament due to come up in a little while. I want to pick up on what George Prevalakis said there just a moment ago. The point that having such a huge informal economy has really weighed on Greece for years, and perhaps opened the door to what he called easy money.
Well, we need to make a distinction about what is really informal economy. I'm an economist myself, an institutional economist, and have worked about 18 years in defining informal economy, which is not necessarily illegal economy. An informal economy is defined by activities that are done so that transactions, basic behavior, agreements, transactions take place when bureaucracy is too difficult to follow and rules are too unpredictable. So in those terms, yes, the rules have been rather unpredictable, very tight, very difficult to follow, and they change all the time. So what is true is that doing business in Greece is not an easy task. Now, I think your previous correspondent, your previous interviewer was talking about the informal economy in terms of money that does not get declared in the tax authorities. That's not informal, that's para-economy or if you wish, black economy. It is true that there has been a lot of tax evasion in Greece as well, but this is the outcome of a very badly managed public sector and a very badly managed system. So, yes, for a long time, we have had this problem.
Many of those who are protesting outside Parliament as you get ready to vote say, hey, wait a minute, we're getting bad press abroad. I don't know who they're talking about. We work hard. So there's sort of, I guess you could say, a dueling narrative, is there not, Elena Panaritis, as to the Greeks being... How do you feel when the Greeks are told that they don't work hard enough?
Well, it's a rather not true statement, I would say, and an insulting statement, as a matter of fact. Many of you live abroad, and I'm sure many of you have met all these Greeks of the diaspora that are rather successful. As a matter of fact, it's more of a news to find a Greek that in the diaspora that is a failure, that has not succeeded, rather than find successful Greeks. The question is, how come Greeks that are so entrepreneurial, creative, brainy, successful abroad cannot really bring that same type of energy within the country? I have been living in America for 20 years and came back 20 months ago to actually help and work with the government of Prime Minister Papandreou. And in my experience so far, I yet have not seen one Greek have just one job. They usually have 2 to 3 jobs because they're underpaid and they have to make ends meet. So it is true that there is a bit of academic laziness to label the Greeks as people that do not work or are lazy. But on the other hand, what is happening is that we don't have very good returns. We don't have revenues. We're not a productive country. And the reason we're not a productive country is because we are enveloped in too much bureaucracy. We're enveloped in way too much formalities. So it's very hard to grow. I'll give you an example. The majority of Greek enterprises are small and medium scale, which means that they are enterprises of 5 to 15 people. 90% of our enterprises are 5 to 15 people. They don't really grow. They don't have the ability to grow very much. And that has been going on for a very long time.
All right.
So that's what really needs to change.
Let's turn now to Yorgo Hatzimarkakis. Thank you for joining us from Brussels. You're a member of the European Parliament, the member of the German FDP party, and also you head the Greek-German Business Leaders Association. I suppose with your origins and your nationality, I guess the question is, when we're talking about all of this, do you feel Greek or do you feel German?
I'm feeling pretty much European, and I can tell you it's very, very hard to be at the front of Germans and Greeks at the moment, because the feelings and the sentiments on both sides are really running wild. I'm feeling as a European, but another truth is that trying to sell the Greek mentality or why Greece is as it runs today in Germany is a very hard job. And seeing the Greeks in a crisis, I have become a little bit more Greek than I thought before the crisis. I'm born in Germany, grew up in Germany, but I'm speaking Greek with my children and, of course, with my parents. So it is very, very difficult. And as a European, I see the European spirit at stake at the moment. There's a danger for the European spirit, not that much for the euro, but for the European spirit. And you can feel it if you try also to sell German politics in Greece. Very hard job at the moment.
What do you say to your German colleagues when they tell you, hey, how come your country of origin doesn't have, for instance, proper land registries, to define property borders?
Well, I have to say it's true. The problem is also that Greece got a lot of money by the European Union to create this register. They never did it. I think it's what the previous speakers also said. The Greeks are very, very creative and very hardworking, especially when they are outside the country. It's one of the most successful diaspora societies in the world. But as soon as they come to Greece, it all stops because it's the bureaucracy, it's the public sector that really, really brings you down. And Greece needs a total break with the old system. It's the political leadership that has to decide about that, but it's also the public sector which has to be really, really cut down to a European size, and also modernize. I think Greece now needs the help of diaspora Greeks, but also of experts from other member states, from other countries, to create an absolutely new public sector in Greece. We can't continue like that.
Raquel Garrido, do you think that bureaucracy is to blame for the plight of the Greeks?
I'm fully sure that the problem is not the ways of the Greek. There might be issues with the ways of the Greek, but certainly the financial situation in which the Greek are today is not linked to that. It's only linked to the fact that the private banking sector that lost money in 2008 with the subprimes is trying to get its stack back. It's like a poker player. When you lose your money, you try to find around the table who you're going to steal the stack from. You find the weak guy. And this is what has happened to Greece. And they should stand up for themselves, not have this, reaffirm that banks that are allowed to lend to states are privileged.
So the Greek state is not to blame. When you see, for instance, that it's the country in the European Union that spends the most per capita on defense, when you see that the problems of bureaucracy that our previous panelists were talking about?
Well, the problem is the linkage between that and the crisis, because if you want to talk about the ways of the Greek, then you have to compare them to whom? To the Americans? They actually invented the whole subprime crisis. To the Irish? They have a crisis. To the people from Iceland? Well, so what is actually at stake is not what is being said. And the worst part of the story is that all this little media music that is playing on some sort of condescended, almost xenophobic feeling that people of the South are lazy, and the worst obviously comes from Angela Merkel herself, which is historically totally irresponsible for a German leader to speak that way about peoples of other nations in Europe, knowing the history of our continent. This makes absolutely no sense. When a bank lends a country, a sovereign state, he's lucky because he will get paid interest. And a state has workers, has ways and means of producing, has life. So it never goes actually, totally collapsed. And that's what we saw in Argentina. Until the governments, remember, there were 5 presidents in Argentina.
We'll talk about the situation in other states that have been close to the same situation. Before we go to the break, though, George Prevlakis, your thoughts on especially, we heard there Yorgo Hatzimarkakis saying that this finger pointing at the Greeks is a bit of a danger for the danger for the European spirit, he says.
Well, I think we have a lot of good ideas, but they have to be articulated and put into order. All explanations are true, but we have to see what are the priorities. First of all, of course, there is one explanation that we have to reject. This is the culturalist, that Greeks are by nature bad, lazy, etc. This, I think, that we don't have to worry about that. Then there is a question of economics, of the economy of Europe, of the global system, etc. It is true. But the question then is, why Greece? I mean, why did it break with Greece? Then we have to get into the Greek specifics. Now, the explanation about the bureaucracy is also true. The public sector is overgrown. It's not only that it is overgrown, but it is completely inefficient. It blocks the economy. People do not get the services. For every service, a Greek citizen has to pay 3 times. One for the public sector that does not deliver, a second for a private sector, and probably to bribe somebody. So we have a description of a system which does not function at all. But then we have to ask ourselves, why this system? Why did it happen in Greece?
Well, why did it happen in Ireland? Why did it happen in Iceland?
Why
did it happen in the United States? And it will go to Portugal, and it will go to Spain, and it might even come to France.
Yes, okay.
So what will we say then?
But it is worse in Greece. And what I have to say that we have not seen the worst in Greece. I really have to insist on that.
The worst may still yet be to come.
It's coming because an economic crisis turned into a political crisis. It may turn into a security crisis soon. So
we'll pick up on that point when we come back. Stay with us. The France 24 debate continues.